The following is a presentation of Playfly Sports Properties and Michigan State Sports Properties. Well, hello and good day, good people. It is Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. It's Halloween. Trick or treat, everyone, if that's your thing. Welcome to the only show about Spartan Dawgs, hosted by Spartan Dawgs. This is Sparta MSU. I'm your host, Jason Strayhorn, along with my co-host, the boss, Otis Wiley Jehuu Caulcrick. He's in serious negotiations right now, somewhere around Rick's. We're going to talk more about that later in the show to bring you the news that we always want to bring you, accurate news. But if this is your first time watching the show, we want to welcome you. If this is not your first time, we want to thank you. Be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons. Helps us a whole lot, doesn't cost you a thing. Follow us on all of our social media platforms at This is Sparta MSU. And get to the live chat. That's where the party's at. Everything's going to be jumping in there. We've got a jam-packed show, Otis. Big-time guest, a quarterback, Sam Levit. He's coming on. We're going to talk to him in a minute, but it's very exciting. And don't forget Corey Robinson from 247 Sports. He's going to be here too. We got a lot to break down. But the weekend that just passed, Otis, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the Minnesota game. Minnesota recap coming right at you.
Coming right at you, live in action. Obviously we talked about on the pregame, before we went out there, that this was going to be a defensive battle. Immediately, you saw our defense create two quick turnovers that got us the ball into their territory, and we came up short, which kind of at the end, got us locked in where, from the standpoint of the end result, it truly mattered. Like those points truly matter in getting a touchdown. Now, kudos to our kicker for closing the deal for us.
Jonathan Kim.
Yeah, Jonathan Kim. But, the defense was clicking, man. Like we talked about, this was going to be a tough battle, tough Big Ten defensive battle. We were back there, like you had Jalen Sami getting in there. This is where at all levels, like we were playing ball, man. We're playing ball on the road, Mangum with the interception. Creating turnovers is what you're supposed to do, right? And so, the element of losing this game, the score doesn't truly compare to like how close this game was. It was an outright battle. Now I wish we were on the winning side of it, but our guys competed at the highest level as they could, right? Like the stuff that they've been given, they've truly tried to make this worthwhile. And so, we talk about the next bullet of like the momentum shift. Like we had it, we start to get the momentum shift, and at that fourth quarter, you have Sam coming in to give us some juice, right? Give us some juice. And I know that bullet point where everybody's like the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room. What? Hey, I know I'm jumping, but like, no, man, like let's go right at it. Like this, it hurts. Go ahead, Strat.
I was just going to get into we're going to get into a Stat Cat recap brought to you by Main Financial Group right now. This is what we're going to do, the stat breakdown. Don't forget to call the fellas over at 248-347-MAIN, mainfinancialgroup.com. Jordan and his staff will take great care of you. Look, the score 27-12. Michigan State lost this game, and you're getting into it. The turnovers were big. You had a sack fumble that you just saw a minute ago from Jordan Hall, who was the defender of the game. 2 sacks by him, an interception by Jaden Mangum. Want to stay in bounds, try to score next time, young dog. But that was awesome for him to catch the ball and make that turnover happen. But the elephant in the room, as you wanted to talk about, is what happened at the 8-minute 37 mark in the game. left in the game.
I mean, just like you, Mike, we just had that silent pause, moment of silence, is to really understand what that call was fully, truly about. Now, we have nothing to lose. I get it. Also being aggressive. I get it. We had the momentum. I get it. Now, if we would have got the onside kick, clearly we would have been celebrating like, let's go. It's just great opportunity. But with that amount of time left on the clock, knowing that Sam just drove us down, right? The squad just drove us down. We obviously missed the 2-point conversion, but the way the defense was playing was, would you rather? Like, it's like a would you rather situation. Would you rather be in a touchback situation coming out 25 yards out? We have a lot of space for them to drive down. We can get a 3-and-out quickly, get the ball back, get Sam the ball, and have the offense drive down again to then try to, tie this game up. It's a would you rather. Like, like I said, if we would have got the onside kick, we'd have been like, oh, great call. We executed. But with that amount of time left, look, there's a lot of game left to play. There's a lot of game left, and a lot of things that kind of just scratch your head on. Like, I get it, man, but like, we need to win so bad that why wouldn't we play the long game and trust our defense to get the ball back to the offense? Simple as that.
Yeah, that was one of those head-scratching moments. It's similar to what you're talking about when the basketball coach is telling the guy, don't shoot it, when he's like deep beyond the three-pointer and he can see him taking the shot. No, and then it goes in, he go, yes, right? But this is different. When you're talking about a decision, just to make the decision to do an onside kick at that point in the game, momentum, as you just described, was on the side of the Spartans. The stadium, the fans at Minnesota collectively were holding their breaths a little bit after they saw the spark that Sam was able to provide. It's no secret. Caden Hauser struggled a bit, 12 of 22 for 117 yards, no touchdowns. It was not his game, and the decision-making seemed to be a little slow, a lot of throwaways. The protection wasn't quite there. And then the youngster comes in and provides a spark where I saw the Gopher fans like, oh, it's happening. And he goes down and gets the score. Tries to go for 2. We did not get it. But now, 8 minutes and 37 seconds to go in the ball game. As you said, the plays are called differently, right? And you're a defensive player, Otis. Would you rather, you just talked about it, have your back against the wall a bit with a short field, or does the offense tend to call different types of plays after a touchback with 75 yards to go to get to the end zone?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to, I think from an offensive standpoint, you're just trying to get to the first downs and try to get us, basically get that clock going until we start to burn timeouts. Now, it also would be on the flip side, as you were talking about it, is that, okay, defense was playing so well that, even if we don't get the onside kick, you still have time to get a 3-and-out and get a pooch punt. But the way they were driving, we had a couple penalties going obviously there. Now let's talk about one of the game-changing performances or the play that just kind of sealed the deal was the not call that was the block in the back on Mango. Like, that was a touchdown. Like, it was 20 to 12, right? 20 to 12. They're driving down, and it is a clear block in the back. Like, Mangum comes up to make that play on outside zone. He comes up. He sees it right away. He's coming up. He's flying. He would have made that open field tackle. And then you just see an automatic, like, I thought the turf bug got him, right? And then
turf monster.
Turf monster. But then you see the replay. It is a clear block in the back. Now, we can't, the game's not win or won or lost off of that play alone, but that was a determining factor. That if we would have got that tackle, it may have been a field goal, but I still think that we would have been able to got a 3-and-out and got a punt and maybe a solid return to get us in position to let Sam drive us down and get us to potentially tying the game up, right? And so there's a bunch of those chess moves, plays that you kind of think about. You don't want to lose with the regret, but you always scratch your head. It could have been a different outcome if we would possibly just kick that ball.
Yeah. It's a tough one to swallow after being so close, the momentum seeming to come to the Michigan State sidelines. As we said, Jordan Hall, 9 tackles, 6 of them below, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. He was the defender of the game after the game from George Blaha and yours truly in the booth for the radio broadcast. But, the spark that Sam Levitt provided, 8 of 12, 73 yards, a touchdown, and 1 pick at the end. But led the team in rushing, 6 carries for 52 yards. Very, very solid performance by the youngster out of Oregon.
Yeah, and we always, I'm looking forward to obviously, interviewing Sam, just kind of getting to know him, but also just talk about how, coming in, you get a chance to review and survey what you're up against, in real time. Like you see Caden going through the offensive or in the defensive schemes that he's facing. And then for him to be able to kind of see that, you can have a game plan. Like when I do get in there, I see these opens, I see these opportunities that the pocket's closing quicker. So I need to figure out ways to make plays with my feet. And, just the aggressiveness he came in with a kind of like nothing to lose mentality. Like I got to make something out of something, right? Something out of nothing. And It was an element that he had a quicker trigger of like, look, if I don't see the 1 or 2 option in the pass, like I'm gonna tuck it and run it and get some positive yards, consistent momentum. And you just saw it. Like it was quickness. It was more quicker than what it was the first 3 quarters. And so, kudos to him.
In the hole.
With quick,
in the hole too.
Absolutely. And we always talked, we kind of looked at each other like, this reminds you of number 5, Drew Stanton, a little bit, man, where, he's looking downfield at all times. And if it's not there, all right, let's go ahead and tuck it and try to make some plays. And that wiggle, you got vision too, man. So I think it gave you a little bit of just a little juice to where, it was able to give some pressure off the running backs. The running backs, we were getting no push within the tackle box. And I kept scratching my head. I wish I would have came up to the radio booth and truly asked you straight, like, why are we not getting any push with interior? Like it's within the 4-hole, we weren't getting no, right. Right. And it was just like, honestly, why would we keep calling these run calls? Like the interior persistence from penetration from these defensive front, the Minnesota guys were giving us. It's like we had to just turn to let our receivers, make some plays. And I think that was an element of, look, I don't know, I'm ready to break it down and get Sam on the next block here, but it was just congratulations to him because he came in with the mentality of I want to light this spark. I'm gonna put the team on my back. And as a freshman, that's very encouraging, obviously, for the future of Spartan football.
And with temperatures well below 30, 34, 33, it was dropping as the game was going. Not a warm game by any stretch of the imagination. To be able to do that late in the 4th quarter, after a full, warm up, halftime, and all that, to be able to come out there and perform the way that he did, it's the hard role of a backup in any position, let alone the quarterback position. So we're going to talk to him in a moment. We're very excited about speaking with quarterback Sam Levitt. Look, we got to move forward in this. We're going to talk about basketball for a moment. Michigan State had an exhibition game with Tennessee in the Breslin Center. Charity for Maui folks. Man, it was a very good performance by all. Lots of exciting things here.
Yeah, this is an opportunity that, we just like to thank, obviously, the Tennessee Volunteers of, aligning with this purpose and this mission to support a great cause. From an exhibition standpoint, you almost thought we were, in season of how Breslin was so electric, right? And it's a good testament to what we need to work on in order to have sustainability throughout the season, because the Big Ten Conference is not, for the faint at heart here. But you're able to see kind of the elements that we have a strong squad, right? And I think there's I didn't know, man, exhibitions wise, I think before the game, there was an element of, Coach Izzo and Coach Barnes saying look, we're going to have a great time and have some fun here, where, they were calculating fouls, but no one was getting fouled out. So one of their guards had legitimately 7 fouls. And so, but you look at it Tennessee's a tough squad, man, where it's able for us to kind of reevaluate what we had missing, what we didn't do well, and get ready for this next game on Monday.
Always exciting to see Michigan State basketball come around, but no season more anticipated than this one. A lot of players coming back, a ton of great recruits. Coach, Tom Izzo's got it rolling over there in the Breslin, and very excited about what this team's going to be able to do. And, spring's not far. We got a winter that's approaching. Winter is coming, but spring's not far. That March
Absolutely.
Madness.
Absolutely.
What is it? January, February? Izzo? Can't wait for that. They look awesome out there. We want to give an update on a Spartan dog who has been inducted into the Ring of Honor. Muhsin Muhammad, Moose, they call him Moose, elected into the Panthers Hall of Fame. Carolina Panthers, great Muhsin Muhammad.
Yeah, Spartan Dawgs doing great things, man. I was looking at these highlights, I was like, hey, man, Moose was a dude, man. Like, we always knew that, but, like, looking at these highlights, like,
he's a dog, man.
Getaway speed, had the getaway speed. He was out here. Look at this, man. Honestly, I was like, man, is that like Courtney Hawkins a little bit? Oh, man. Like, just the element of a local guy from Lansing playing for the green and white, then going to the next level, having a great career, and just kind of putting a bow on the career, what he did for the Panthers organization. It's an obviously honor to be put in the Ring of Honor. And next thing up, man, is, let's get this man on the ballot. Let's go ahead and get him going. Oh, yeah. He's a dude, and I'm glad that he's a Spartan dog through and through.
Oh, without question. Pride of Waverly High School. Remember playing with Muhsin while at Michigan State. I mean, this is a guy that he had NFL written all over him from day one. He had the talent. He had that drive, that dog that we talk about. When you talk about a Spartan dog, you better bring up Muhsin Muhammad. I'm going to tell you that right now. If this guy was 5 foot, I was joking in our call earlier. I was like, he was 5'8", 5'7". He's still been a dog in the NFL. He was that kind of player, but, 6'1", 6'2". And as you've seen, you ain't punking him in the weight room or on the track. He was one of those guys, man, in the classroom, just a model guy. Now is continuing his work, charity work, and working as a venture capital and private equity type of guy out there in North Carolina. We'd love to have you on the show, Moose. We got to get you on here so we can talk more about you and give you your flowers while you around, bro. Come on.
Yeah, we know a guy. We know a guy. He's supposed to be calling him up, man. Be proactive on here. We know a guy.
We know a guy.
Strayhorn.
We'll make it happen. We'll work on that. But so speaking of Spartan Dawgs, let's go to the rounds with the Spartan Dawgs who were in the NFL and how they did on this past Sunday. When you look at the meeting, the secret meeting, as Jehuu likes to talk about, that he's having right now in Rick's, Kirk Cousins came and spoke to the team this past weekend before the game, and then went out 21 of 31, 23 of 31, 274 yards and 2 touchdowns before regrettably tearing his Achilles.
Yeah, man, obviously unfortunate because he was being deemed as having one of his best. He's already had productive seasons, right? Success, but the way he had the Vikings starting to roll, I think that was an element of obviously a disappointment. But we all know, if you know Kirk personally, but if you know his faith is very, his foundation is firm, and so there's always a plan within the plan. And so for him, he is going to obviously focus on getting back to full recovery, but he will be the ultimate cheerleader, ultimate, coach on the sideline when he gets back to help the young guys, but also his team, the will to win. We already know that is not even a shadow of doubt that Kirk Cousins has the will to win, but he's an ultimate leader too. So prayers up for Kirk, obviously him and his family, that, speedy recovery, and that I know that he's fully has his faith strong, strapped and loaded to be able to make this full-time recovery.
No question about it. You saw a video of him as he was getting loaded onto the cart. He's still cheering on the offense. I believe yesterday, which was Monday, he had a autograph signing session that he didn't miss. And he's on the little, wheel thing with his leg, up, and he's there. He's a guy who's going to be there. So no doubt that Kirk Cousins will continue to rise above any of the challenge that faces him in his career. So speedy recovery to him. Jaden Reed for the Green Bay Packers, 4 catches, 83 yards, Otis.
Yeah, it's crazy because you're playing against, Spartan Dawgs. It's 3 Spartan Dawgs that was in this game. And look, man, we always, Jay Reed, he's just he's a different guy, man. Like he's a guy who's going to do his part and do the most that he can. But this guy, we saw him, man. This guy can get out in space, man, and he's a problem. He's a threat on any DB that's checking. But from a standpoint of getting it going, as a rookie, like this is solid numbers for a rookie coming off first year with the Packers.
Yep, he was out there. You talked about 3 dogs. You got Kirk, Jaden Reed, and Speedy Naylor was also there. There was a picture of those two holding up jerseys, Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor together, on the field after the game. Spartan Dawgs in unity. Love to see that. Bucks going down to Tampa, man. Tampa, another. This is Sparta MSU alumni. Will Golston, the dog, with a pick on Thursday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, man. Look, well, I remember when he was a young cat, being recruited, and Coach D was going after him, and that was a huge recruit coming to Michigan State, and for him to still be playing at the highest level. It was a great interview, by the way, being on this is Sparta MSU. But time and time again, Will was going out there and balling out, man. It's crazy to see, like, he's a big human being, still can move like he's out there on the post and basketball court. All right. So, when he was obviously wearing the green and white, we had a rush, like no other pass rush. And so that's just consistently been shown there on the next level.
Hey, love to have him on our side. You know that, wearing the green and white, he was a monster and been with one team in all of his years in NFL. Very rare for a guy over 10 years of experience with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just love watching what Will Golston's been able to do. Too Tall, that's his nickname, down there in Tampa. You like what you've heard so far? Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I see the chat is buzzing with excitement because we have our special guest, Sam Levitt, joins this Sparta MSU after this message from our friends over at IHOP.
Introducing IHOP's new menu with perfectly crispy yet fluffy waffles, warm, flaky buttermilk biscuits, juicy, satisfying steak burgers, decadent eggs Benedicts, and more. It's time to find your new favorite. Don't worry, we won't tell the pancakes. Only at IHOP. Let's put a smile on your plate.
Without further ado, see the pancakes dropping. We have to bring the number 1 overall player in the state of Oregon in the class of 2023, Michigan State's own, Sam Levitt joins. This is Sparta MSU. Welcome.
Oregon's finest. Oregon's finest, baby.
Hey, man, I like the background. You got those LEDs going, man. That's what
got to. Everybody got them, so I had to get them.
Oh, yeah. You got the dimmer on.
They change colors, dimmer? Do they change
colors? Yeah. I just put them on white for right now, but yeah, it goes every color.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, look, welcome to This is Sparta MSU, obviously, but talk about your experience. Let's go back for Sam. Like, let's get the Spartan Nation fans get a chance to know who you are. When did it all start? Did you play multiple sports when you were growing up as a youngster?
Yeah, I always played basketball growing up, and I ran track as well. Basketball was actually my first love, so football just kind of fell into part probably like my freshman year of high school, and I kind of stuck it out from there. And obviously having my family be football players, so kind of just all fell into that.
Kind of hooper were you though? Because everybody like to say like I was a hooper, but what kind of hooper? Like what
point guard, shooting guard,
your expertise? Point guard, shooting guard, you had it all. Like, tell us how you was doing.
Yeah, I'm a shooting guard for sure. Like I just get the rock and try to score. I play a little bit of defense, but I score the rock. I shoot the ball, so. Yeah.
You heard that straight? Said a little bit of defense.
You wasn't beating them up. You said you score, huh? Man, I saw that in your ability when you were scrambling or not. You chose to run that thing, and you could set up people and made nice moves in the hole, man. So you've had a lot of players. Like your father played football. You got a father who played at BYU?
Yes, sir.
What position was your father?
He was like outside linebacker, DN.
Oh.
Yeah.
DN. So, and then you have a brother that also played, right?
Yes, sir. He's playing for the Packers right now, safety.
DNA, baby.
Like, I like you said. So look, you say with so much swag, like, yeah, it's in the blood, baby. It's in the blood. It's in the family bloodline.
Playing with Jaden Reed.
Never, you never experienced playing on the defensive side ever.
No, I actually thought I was gonna play safety until like my sophomore year. Yeah, and then kind of just started playing quarterback, and I always played quarterback growing up, just because my dad just wanted me to play it. But I always thought I was gonna play safety, and then sophomore year I moved to my school in Utah, and I kind of just played quarterback mainly there, and from there on just stayed with it.
So you were in Utah your sophomore year?
Yeah, for COVID.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. And then you went back to Oregon after that, or went to Oregon?
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, talk about the difference between the two brands of football, between Utah high school football and Oregon, because you don't hear a lot about Oregon football nationally.
Yeah. I mean, the year I went to Utah was really good, just because there was a lot of players coming around from around the nation. With COVID happening, so a lot of states were shut down and Utah was open. So the difference mainly between Oregon and Utah, I'd say, would be the front seven. There's just a lot of bigger dudes. But in terms of skill position, Oregon's got some good players. I feel like it's a little underlooked. But we got some players out there that can ball.
So I guess let's go back to obviously you said sophomore year. Like, when did it click that you had the QB1 arm, right? Like, tell us when it started to click. Which off season or which season where you was like, you know what? Like, I have an arm that I can go and play at the next level.
It was probably my freshman year that I really realized that, and then my off season going into sophomore year, I really locked in on it. I was never like, oh my gosh, like my arm's incredible. I kind of just stuck to it and tried to get better every day, and it ended up working out for me. So I'm excited to be in the position I am.
I mean, you had a meteoric rise. I think originally you had committed to Washington State University, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, sir.
And then did you have a Elite 11 camp, something like that? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Elite 11, but I was a little bit hurt. So going into it, it was like my second time throwing live. I just went to it for the experience, but I didn't have the best camp, but yeah, I mean, it was fun there.
Talk about that. What is the Elite 11 like? Because people don't really know what it is. I mean, as a person who's gone and seen it, what did you think of it overall?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. You got a lot of top tier dudes around you, and you get to see how you compare around the nation with them, just in terms of ball placement and how you throw it. And you got to be around a lot of good coaches. So my quarterback coach growing up, Alex Brink, he's a coach for Elite 11. So it's good being there with a homebody. Yeah, but it's a good experience. You just go run, you do like combine stuff like the 40, the vert, and then you throw some routes, and that's about it.
So who was like in that class that when you went, like who were the top quarterbacks that you were kind of sizing up and kind of learning from? Because I know when you leave that camp, you leave as competitors clearly, but then it's kind of lifelong friends as y'all go to your own schools of choice, right? But who was the quarterbacks that were in that camp that year?
Honestly, can't remember many of the quarterbacks that were there with me. I went to the LA one because I thought that's where all the top dudes were going to be, like, Nico, Malachi, all of them were going to be there. They ended up going to the Vegas one. So I can't remember exactly who was all there. I mean, I just kind of competing with myself the whole time. You watching the dudes, but each rep I'm just, focusing on myself.
As a young quarterback, do you think that is a good evaluator? Is that a place that you can really find out where the cream is going to rise to the top, or do you think it's more true tape that people need to evaluate?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, you get to see how people throw the ball and the ball comes off live. So, that's good, definitely. But obviously tape's the most important thing. You can be the best routes on air quarterback and not be the best player. So, tape's definitely number one, but it's definitely a good evaluation.
What's the biggest difference? Like, when you say, I'm just asking in general from a quarterback's perspective, because, we love having quarterbacks on so we can understand, because everybody wants to know what the quarterback thinks. What is the separator in your opinion, between a good quarterback and a great quarterback? Like, is it his ability to stand in a pocket? Is it the ability to take hits? Is it the ability to lead? What do you think is like the top things for a quarterback to have?
It's just a combination of everything, so running the offense, getting everybody in the right spots, understanding the checks that you got to make, protections. Obviously, you got to know the defense, in and outs, route combinations, and just how you carry yourself on the field, how you get other players to play around you. There's just so many factors that come into it other than just throwing the ball that I feel like people don't really understand. When you're out there, you're not just playing for yourself. You're kind of just getting everybody else in the right spot, and you're honestly like a point guard trying to get the ball into other people's hands to make a play. So it's just understanding the defense and what your goals on offense are and the personnel you got. So it's just making everybody else's game elevate.
Yeah, so like when you were coming in and being recruited, and I know when the coaches got you basically say, hey, I'm coming to Michigan State and East Lansing, talk about that first interaction with Michigan State football and the brand. I remember us obviously celebrating you as you made your commitment and obviously signed on the dotted line. But, talk about that first interaction with Michigan State and, how you fell in love and why Michigan State.
Yeah, I was talking to Jay Johnson during my senior year, and he was recruiting me. So I was able to just build a relationship with him, see what he's like, be able to watch the team progress, watch the offense. And I didn't know him too well then, we're just kind of building a relationship. But then when I came up on my official visit, I was really able to see, just the whole culture, coming up on campus. It's obviously a great campus, and you just get to see the whole vibe of Michigan State. And, it's obviously a top tier program and of all time. So, it felt special being up here. And I just fell in love with everything about it, whether it's the people, the culture. You obviously got a great basketball and football program. So it's just a winning environment. It's just everything about it. I don't know, not one specific thing.
Which is great. That's what kind of the reason we all chose to come to Michigan State with those things that you just said. As a young player, right? You choose to come to Michigan State. You did not enroll early, and nowadays that seems to be like kind of like not usual. You see a lot of early enrollees. I remember when that was not even thought of. Now it seems to be like the move. What was it that drove your decision to come in the fall or the summer?
Yeah, back my junior year when I was like thinking about it, I would have to take extra credits in the summer. But originally I was committed to Washington State, so they had a quarterback in Cameron Ward who was kind of a solidified spot, So I didn't really think I had a shot at coming in and competing for a job. And we had a really good basketball team at the time and ended up having a great basketball season. So I just thought I'd play that out. By the time it came to make a decision, I chose not to. And then Michigan State ended up coming around and I saw the opportunity. And by that time, it was too late. Obviously, going back, I don't know what I would have done because basketball is a great experience still. But, obviously would have wished to have those reps in spring.
Wow. And then you come to Michigan State in the summer, and so you're playing catch up. And, we'd heard like, hey, you have the moxie, the makeup mentally to have the confidence to come in, even though you didn't have the reps in the spring to push for the starting job. And now, you get to campus in week 2, the world turns upside down, obviously. As a young player, who's being recruited by Jay Johnson, obviously Mel Tucker had a hand in that. Seeing this happen, what is your mindset as you start to come through all the drama that you've seen in your first year? Because trust me, I don't think it's going to be any worse than what you're experiencing right now anywhere else in the world. But you're going to get stronger from this. But what is your mindset as a young player going through that?
You're saying just right now or coming in from summer?
When you're in season, here you are, you're learning the playbook. Now, boom, this bomb goes off, right? Now you don't have a coach. The coach who recruited you is no longer there. You've got Harlan Barnett as the interim head coach. Now he is the head coach. So things have shifted as you've now committed to play at Michigan State. And now you find yourself working up the depth chart slowly. What is your mindset now that all of those things have happened? You see 4 games left in Michigan State, right, for this season. And you're battling right now, as Coach Harlan Barnett has said. It's still an open job. So what is your mindset right here, right now?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what happens, I can't control anything other than what I do. So every day I'm just coming to work and, trying to put my head down and learn as much as I can from Coach Johnson, because he's a very knowledgeable guy. And Jake Riley, obviously, he's been a big factor. So, it's just every day, what can I do to get better and set myself up for the future? Because at the end of the day, like, it's not going to benefit me to dwell on what's happened or, think about it too much, because it's going to just worsen my play, create stress, and ultimately won't lead to the best thing. So, it's just every day, what can I do to get better and just set myself up?
Yeah, like we all had that moment, like when your name's called in the game, like you may have not been starting, right? But then you get that moment like, Sam, get warmed up. Sam, get warmed up. Like, and it was cold out there now, like last week. It was cold, and I know you was engaged and you're calling, helping call plays and kind of seeing how the defense is giving you signs or their positions in their plays. So you're able to see it for 3 quarters, right? And then you get that saying, warm up, man. You'll go in the 4th quarter. What's your mindset like when you gotta flip it, right? But like, walk us through when you knew you were gonna go out there and give it your best shot.
Yeah, I mean, no nerves. I'm ready to go. I'm always ready to go. So.
Okay.
You got a little swag to you, man. I'm peeping the swag, Hooper, you got brother in the league, got a sister, you said in LA, doing some stuff like in the industry. Yeah, I mean, look, man, that's moxie. Appreciate I like that in the quarterback. Got the chain on.
So I know. Right. You know what I mean? Look,
they don't bring it to the locker room.
He got 2 chains.
Yeah, you got to put them away.
Lock away.
Yeah, put them away for sure.
I mean, so just so you know, like me being general manager of our property and doing corporate marketing, I'm up top, on the same level as Stray as he's calling the game, right? So I was starting out on the field. I ain't playing no more, so I get cold real quick. So I'm gonna go up there.
You get old, you get soft, Sam. That's what happens.
Yeah, right. So, but I'm able to see kind of all plays evolving, right? The things that especially when you're snapping the ball, I'm able to see like, man, and guys open right there, or this slant, this crossover, this drag, But when you came in, there was a sense immediately like you felt presence closing the pocket, and you're like, I'm not about to sit there and stay still. Like, I'm going to try to make some plays with my feet, where it kind of helps open up the passing game for you. But like, what in your thought quickly, like, I got to start making some plays and get this, turn the tide of momentum. Just talk about your decision making when you get in the game and it's the first play, you snap the ball and boom, it's like lights on, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously come in the game and being down. I can't remember what the score was. It was 17-6, I think. But you just come in and I got all the guys juiced up. I'm like, hey, let's go. Like, I'm gonna go down there and score. Like, I need y'all. So, just every single play, trying to run the play. How I'm taught, and then when things break down, just make a play and make a smart play. I was able to create a few plays and lead the team down, and fortunate to come up with a score. But yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm out there like thinking like, okay, this play, I'm gonna roll out this way. It's just kind of just feeling the game. When the pocket breaks down, understanding gap assignments and finding the open gap. And then, if there's nothing there, coming down to my check down, stuff like that. So, yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible performance for a guy, especially with those conditions out there in Minneapolis, to be able to warm yourself up. Because I saw guys coming out at the half, like trying to get warm. It's tough. It ain't easy. I mean, you didn't play in this kind of cold, I don't think, in Utah, and definitely not in Oregon with these kind of temperatures, right? Well, you were able to fight that off, and then it shows a lot of mental toughness, in my opinion. What did you think of that? Did that even cross your mind as you were getting the call to come in the game about the conditions?
I mean, the cold always is going to affect you a little bit at quarterback just because the ball is honestly a lot heavier and it's harder to throw. Your arm's not as loose. So, it's in the back of your mind a little bit, but I wasn't too worried about it. I got so much juice going in there. So I honestly warmed myself up. You kind of go numb for a little bit. And I wasn't worried too much about it. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a factor, but, it's whatever.
Man, Sam, and look, we're not trying to let any cat out of the bag. I know you're practicing. This is in the middle of the game week, preparing for the big game this weekend against Nebraska at home. So we're not going to ask that question. No. Who's playing? That's look, they got to prepare for a couple quarterbacks, and have you been able, what is the relationship with the other two? You got Caden and I know Noah's in the room still helping out, even though he's got battling a little injury issues. What's the relationship between you and the other quarterbacks in that room?
Yeah, we're all cool people. We try to help each other in every way that we can. Caden's always there, if I need help with, anything regarding the game or even with life. Like I said, like he always gives me rides when I need a ride, and that's really helpful because I ain't got a car right now. But yeah, I mean, Noah obviously has been very helpful throughout my whole time here, and just going to hear his perspective on things after him being in college for, a longer time than I have. So, yeah, everybody's cool people, and we just try to feed off each other every day.
Man, that's great, man.
So I guess, I'm a former player like us two being former players. What do you feel as a young player, kind of fresh eyes still, and this is your first year, but, what is it going to take for us to get in a win column? Because I feel like we're putting out a great product out on the field, and then some things are being self-inflicted, or there's things we can't finish the game as we obviously want. But, like, what do you believe it is going to take for us to fully compete and beat the Cornhuskers this weekend?
I mean, it's just every play, doing your job, and, you're obviously going to need a little more juice, I feel like, on the sideline. Just the whole team and a belief system that, we really can go get it done. It's difficult because I can't speak on everybody else, how they feeling about it, but I'm fired up and ready to go if my number gets called. So, we're just going in this game with nothing to lose and just go ball out and every play, do your job and do it to the best of your ability. So I can't sit here and say this is exactly what we need to do to win the game. Just doing our job every play is going to give us the best opportunity.
Hey,
amen to that, brother. That's a great answer. Look, that's a pro answer right there.
That's right, man. I mean, you can tell the DNA is strong over there. Jared, is it Tanya?
Yeah, Tanya.
Jared and Tanya has raised a great son, absolutely, and
Appreciate
a couple of kids, as a matter of fact. One in the NFL, and one playing Division I football right now. And is it just you three and your sister?
It's me, my brother, and two sisters.
Two sisters,
yeah.
Great family, man. We really appreciate you coming on the show, man. We'd love to have you back to talk about some victories in the near future. But great time with you today, getting people a chance to know who the real Sam is. Will the real Sam please stand up? And you did that today. Thanks for joining. This is Sparta MSU, man. We look forward to having you come back.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, Sam.
Thanks, man.
Sam Levitt. Hey, man, that's a cold brother right there. Hey, look, that was my first time having an interaction with him like that. You guys have been down on the sideline with him. And, it's always been Noah and Caden and all that. I've seen those guys a lot. We got the mental makeup. I don't say what you will about Jay Johnson. He's been able to find guys. I know he didn't recruit Noah Kemp, but he's been able to find some guys who have the mental makeup to be championship caliber quarterbacks when everything gets put together. And as he said, Otis, you can't do it alone in that position.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, you got to think about this too, man. Like, this is a true testament to next man up. Like, when your name is called, you got to be prepared. Like, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Like, simple as that. And for him to come out there and, take that platform and that opportunity and thrive. I think there's an element where, like I said, if you don't see the answers to the test, like for those 3 quarters, and you go out there in the fourth quarter and start to kind of break things down, like, clearly your mind wasn't in the game. You can tell his mind was stayed in the game, like he was out there competing for 4 quarters. And so, huge testament to a young freshman with that mindset, with that talent that we have on the green and white. And it's an element that you can't control the card you dealt, but you're able to, how you respond is how you control it. And so you see he has a different perspective, a different attack to what they're dealing with right now. And so just great interview by a young freshman in Sam, man.
Doesn't seem like a freshman at all.
Clearly, like
I love it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wanted to ask him, like, clearly making a decision to come out to Midwest, not knowing that Oregon eventually is going to come into the Big Ten, and now you're able to, go ahead and see your friends, your family, to see you play when you go to Oregon, on the West Coast. So just the elements of just kind of the future of the conference is allowing him to thrive. So I love his energy. He looks and sounds and feels like a team player first, which, like you said, he's like a point guard to help get the ball to the right folks. And so let's rally around whoever's out there. Let's still rally around and support. But we got some guys that can lead our team and lead it the right way.
We are not beat writers on this particular show, so we're not going to ask gotcha questions to kids in positions like he's in right now about burning red shirts and all that kind of stuff that I know people want to know. But I think if you listen, if you read between the lines, I don't think he's worried at all about that. I think he said, if they call my number, I'm ready to go. That's what I heard him say. Yep. So if you trying to figure that out, read into that right there. We got to get into some recruiting updates and what's really going on with GU at Rick's down in that basement with 24/7 Sports Zone Corey Robinson, who's coming up next after this messages from SeatGeek.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like the High Five Strangers guy. Game-winning interception, first down, just a nice solid tackle. If you're in arm's length, you will be swapping skin with this extrovert. You see, he knows SeatGeek got him a great deal on tickets, so he can focus on what he does best, smacking palms. SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
Fans can fan. Drop them tickets. Stacks to tickets to 24/7 Sports own Corey Robinson, who joins this is Sparta MSU. Welcome back to the show, Corey. Navy dad. What's up?
What's up? Thanks for having me, guys.
No, not a problem, man. Hey, so let's talk about that. Navy. Did you take your son there recently?
They took him there, but so we went. He took off July 20th for boot camp, so they flew out from Grand Rapids to Illinois, and then they did the 10 weeks of boot camp, almost 11 weeks, I think. But so then we watched him graduate on the 29th of September, and then hung out with him for a day in Chicago, and then the next day at the airport before he took off. And yeah, now he's in Connecticut doing his thing with schooling. So it's an adjustment, but it's a lot nicer now that you can just call him up on the phone or FaceTime him whenever he's not in school and talk. So not quite like his jail sentence of boot camp where there's like no phone calls really or nothing. So, but yeah, he's
How
doing
long
good
is boot camp nowadays? How long is boot camp nowadays?
10 weeks for the Navy.
Whew. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it was more like what was it, like 71 days from day one to graduation. So
it's harder than football, Otis.
I was about to say, like, so when you sent them off, he was one kid, and then when he gets out of boot camp, what kid did you see?
Not a kid now. He's like,
I know, right? Like
in 10 weeks, he just became an adult. Which I mean, he still asks you for things, but advice and stuff. But maybe that's a sign of growth, is him actually asking and listening to my advice as before. Because Jason knows, like, you could give them all the advice in the world, but they know everything. So yeah, maybe he listens
like
a little
dad
bit more.
Is not your enemy, right?
Right.
listens more, but he's
Hello.
definitely smarter and can figure out on his own a little bit more too. Just because
Mhm.
when you're there, I mean, you're literally force fed to become an adult really quick, and even with schooling now, he's got to factor in his schedule, and they have like things outside of school where they got to get qualifications done in a timely thing, and then you're obviously hanging out with your friends that are there too. So it's just learning about time management, just like you guys did when you went to college now. So, but yeah, he's doing good. He's happy, and he's already talking about signing up a second term just so he can become like an instructor and teach the next group of people coming through.
Man, you got a fantastic son there, man. And speaking
Yeah.
about, time management and everything that you got to do, like you've been trying to budget your time because you've got a lot going on right now when you're talking about the world of recruiting for Michigan State football, basketball, all those types of things. But like, talk about give us a quick recruiting update for Michigan State.
It's kind of an odd time like that we don't really have just because of the coaching change. So, there's not a lot coming in as much as normal. Like it would be busier than that. I think guys committed for the football program, you're seeing a lot of those guys are doing a wait and see approach. Even AJ Dennis, the 4-star offensive lineman from Mount Pleasant, he had opened up his recruitment, but Michigan State's still going to be a team that he keeps an eye on. I'll probably make the decision, and Michigan State should have their coaching decision made before the signing day. So guys that are a part of the class already now, they'll be able to, see what the hire is, get a chance to talk to them and see if that fits them. I do think Michigan State holds on to a pretty good chunk of what's left of this class right now. They did just get a commitment, I guess, what was it, a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago, something like that.
Mhm.
Keyshawn Williams out of Tennessee, the defensive back. He was a good pickup. He missed his entire junior season with an ACL injury. And as you guys know, that junior year is kind of really crucial for a lot of guys in their recruitment. So he lost that entire year, and then he came back this senior year, and he's put up huge numbers as a defensive back and a wide receiver. A really great athlete, and what I was surprised is how quickly he is able to get in and out of his breaks and exploding to make a tackle for coming off of his ACL just a year ago, where that's only going to improve. So, obviously they're not going to go get, some kid that's got every offer in the country right now with their current situation. But he's a guy that I think if I looked at him against some of their current defensive back commits and some of the guys that left, I would put him in the upper half of the class, which is a great get given the circumstances. Just because, it's a tough spot to get anyone right now. And then Desmond Stratton, he's out of Clarkston. He was committed to Boston College up until about a month ago. Michigan State just offered him while he was at the Michigan games. That's one, being an in-state kid. Michigan State kind of holds a little bit more weight than, if he was out in California and you don't have a coach. Michigan State that's a school he grew up watching and, probably dreamed of playing. He told me playing Little League while he played for the Spartans, which is one of the top youth leagues over on the east side of the state. So I grew up with that, the colors, all that stuff. So, he's got that connection to the program like Otis did. And did you play for them, Otis?
No, I did not though. But I played. I know his father, but I played with his uncle. He also played with one of our alums. Used to play Little League with Jeff Hackler's son, Stray.
Oh, really?
That's who Jeff was talking about, was Desmond Stevens. Like, this guy is, he's a stud. He's a local state guy that can ball. But I'm going to ask you a question, Corey. Like, when Mel was the head coach, we wouldn't give him love or give him, the offer that I feel like he did deserve.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why now is the question. Like, for a lot of people that's, knows him, like, he's been waiting on these opportunities, but like he clearly can play at that level. And they were talking about maybe he could be a linebacker, outside linebacker, maybe strong safety. They got him at corner, but like, what took it so long? But then, why now?
Yeah, it's a good question because I'm with you guys. I thought he looked the part where I know we've talked on the show how there's that group of those in-state kids that it seemed like Michigan State and Michigan didn't give them the attention maybe they deserved, and then they went to Iowa or some cases Penn State or a couple other schools, Missouri, and then they end up making it and playing in the NFL.
Malik Carr went to Purdue for a minute.
Yeah, it's like you saw it out of them, and you're just like, man, I don't understand why they're not going after them. So I guess you give the credit to Harlan for finally, saying, no, this kid can play. And I think that we've noticed the difference of some of the offers they've put out, even to younger guys, because you know how Mel always talked about size, or this stuff. So now you're starting to see maybe like the wide receivers, those little wide receivers, and are getting offers, which I think there's always a place for that in the game now. Because as you know, Otis being a defensive back, you could hit guys a lot harder than they can now. So that's why you can see those smaller receivers and smaller type of players make a big impact, because you can't be as handsy with them. You can't take their head off when they cross the middle. So I think,
which is a shame, by the way. Which is a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah,
it's a shame
for the game.
I refrain myself from complaining about some of those hits every weekend, just because like we grew up with that Nehemiah Warwick when he decapitated that Wisconsin guy, and the announcers are debating in the thing whether that should have even been a penalty, where he probably got kicked out of the game if he did it today, but
suspended for the season.
I think you see that, but but getting back to who you're talking about there, like I think linebacker is a great spot for him, and he's not undersized for it. He's 6'2.5", probably 215, 220. So I mean, he's already this part, but he also has played defensive back his whole life, so he would have those cover skills that you want at the will spot or stuff like that.
That we need at the wheel, by the way. We need that, by the way, right?
That's what
guys that can cover hook curl. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that you need someone that you can put next to Jordan Hall, who I think like that guy is a stud. You put him at the mic and just let him run the show for the next couple of years until he's off to the NFL. But yeah, they need someone like him to kind of be able to cover out there, plus come off the edge with the blitzes and all that. So yeah, he's a really good player. I think he fits that mold of those guys that how I was mentioning, how you're like, man, I think they should get him, they should offer him, and they didn't, and then they pay for it once they have huge careers in college and then off to the NFL. So if Michigan State, gets a new coach in there, I think they're probably in a semi-favorable position, just being an in-state school. And like you said, we talked about, he grew up wanting this offer and playing for a school like this. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on once they make a hire.
Gotta love kids that grow up loving the green and white. Gotta reciprocate that love back to them. Especially, 6'2.5", 215, 220 pounds. That's not undersized. That has defensive back cover
built
skills.
That way in Little League too.
Come on, man.
He
that sounds like a player.
He does everything. Like he against the run, pass. Got long arms for his size too. So it's everything that you kind of look at in a prospect. Definitely a smart offer for these guys that could benefit.
What is he rated? What's he rated? A 3-star?
He's a 3-star, but I think he's top 500. So he's not too far down there either. So Alan True, who does our Midwest, he has him rated pretty good, and he's a good player, not a sleeper by any means. So yeah, he could be a guy that this staff benefits the next staff for by getting that offer out there and kind of getting the ball rolling with them.
Well, Corey, you talked about a lot of the players who are currently committed to this particular class are having the wait and see approach. And that wait and see approach is talking about who the next head coach is going to be, what the staff will be like, how it's going to shake out. We are committed here because we know we want to give people real inside information. None of the noise that's out there for clicks and likes and all that stuff. So, as we talked earlier in the show about JU being in Rick's with one potential head coaching candidate.
Let's you got to clear the disclaimer, like full disclaimer, like JU's not in the tunnel.
It was a joke.
I know, because look, you know how everybody else goes. they take it for a full 100% truth that this is truly a
We got-
tunnel under the.
We got former players, like, you know, current. A lot of people are buying into this now, Corey. Like, we just, you know, we're having fun with it a little bit because just tell us what you have heard regarding Urban Meyer and being the next head coach of Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm kind of heard the consistency that it's just not going to happen. I mean, well, I don't know to what degree the tires have been kicked, but I think a lot of the people that I talk to, because, you know, you got your guys that you can go to for a lot of things, but then you got those guys, maybe something that's a big deal to me with recruiting. Like, I'm not going to bug them about that, even though they could go find it. But I have guys that, you know, if it's a coaching search, which we don't have to have one of these at Michigan State for a while after this one, you know, they're dependable people. They're not going to hype it up. And all of those type of people have always told me that's a hard sell. They're not seeing it happening. And then just knowing some of the names that are thrown around saying that they're pushing it, you know, we have a line to those guys too, and they're just as surprised as us when they read their names being announced to pushing for Urban Meyer. But so no, I don't.
You're talking about
like,
people who have deep pockets, right? That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah,
That's the
and
rumor out there that, you know, there's deep pockets, that the money is there and there's contracts already in place. Any truth to that? Like,
I think there's deep pockets there, but the people like I've talked to, they're not pushing someone. Like, that's never been their thing. They don't want to be like a Texas or some of those schools where you know, they're trying to control the searches, and you know, you see what happens at schools like that where it takes them years and years to get back on track because they have so much infighting and the wrong people controlling it. So I don't think those guys have ever wanted to do that, to where they say, hey, go hire this guy. Now they might say, hey, if there's a guy out there that you want and you need our help, we're here for you. Like that's there. So maybe that's where the disconnect comes from with it, because you know, I know that they've given that, but even with that, I've heard that Allen necessarily doesn't want to go crazy with it. He wants to make a good, smart decision and not just throw money at the problem. He wants to find the right coach, whether that's a high dollar one that's going to cost you money, or if it's a guy that has had a lot of success at a different school that's not making a ton of money. So you can go give him a reasonable contract to start out, you know, and get him over here, make sure you take care of the NIL and the assistant package pool, all that, because that stuff matters just as much as anything to me. And that's just how it works now. So it'll be interesting which way he goes, but yeah, I would be very shocked still at this moment if anything ever happened with the Urban Meyer to the point that they hired him, but I mean, it's good theater, I guess. And I don't know, you guys could probably answer it too. Like, if you're Alan Haller, you got to love that this is out there so much, because now he's able to go out there and do his actual search and vetting people. And everybody's so focused on Urban Meyer. He's out here, you know, interviewing all these other agents, talking to these other agents that are connected to the coaches he's looking at, and easier for him to kind of slip under the radar with that, in my opinion, with all the Urban stuff going on.
I want to ask you, because ask you a question I know that you can answer, right? Like, what, regardless of who the coach may be, like Coach Barnett obviously is right here now, and then if any other person come outside, coming into this football organization here, what is the DNA makeup of the coach that we need to get us back on full track?
Yeah.
Like, I know you can answer that from just what you've been experiencing, but like, who do we need that has the full DNA makeup of what this place needs? What Michigan State, our alma mater, like, what do we need for a coach to sustain us when we don't have to go through this in 3 or 4 years? It's going to be a sustainable 10-year plus program.
Yeah, I think you find a guy, you identify guys that have had success. It doesn't matter what level they've had it at, whether, you know, I'll throw a name out there, not saying that he's the guy, but just kind of his story fits. Lance Leipold at Kansas, where he had, the success at D3. Then, you go to Buffalo. Like Buffalo was terrible when he got there, and he turned that around into a good program for what they are. Kansas, same thing, absolutely terrible thing, and they just, he's turned
Les
them
Miles
around
for
and.
crying out loud.
Yeah, to beat Oklahoma this weekend kind of solidified what a lot of people probably already thought about him. So, like, that's kind of your prototype, is you want a guy that has a track record of success. And, it's good to see someone do it at that one, because, like, we'd all like to think that Michigan State is Alabama and Georgia and some of those other schools, but it's not. So, like, it's sort of like that recruiter. Like, the guy was a recruiting success at Alabama, but how hard is that really? Or Georgia, So to see a coach that's won at every level he's been at, and been able to recruit the right type of players, and more importantly, you got to develop the guys, because we've seen plenty of coaches that recruit really well, like Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, and he's on the hot seat, potentially losing his job this year. So, I mean, like, for me, it's almost like you got to find a blend of what you had with Mark D'Antonio, or maybe even what you had with D'Antonio, and he just ran out of gas at the end, where you're able to identify good football players that fit your program, which is toughness, obviously, is always going to be a thing at Michigan State that they're going to hang their hats on. Personally, I would get a guy that has a high-powered offense, just because I think the rules that are in place in college football, especially, I mean, even the NFL, it's geared towards helping those type of offenses, whether it's, running those pick plays and getting guys out in space and scheming guys open. Like, I think that's been a big struggle for Michigan State this year, especially. And maybe it was in the past too, but you had Jaden Reed and Keon Coleman that you could just throw the ball up to and they'd go get it. But, there's not a lot of scheming guys open this year, especially. So I think that's been the major problem. So if I'm Michigan State, I'd 100% find a guy that can run an explosive offense and kind of get guys out in space. And, but then obviously it's got to have the defense too, because you're in the Big Ten. Defense is always going to matter. You don't want to be like USC with Lincoln Riley, where like you're biting your nails in a 50-52 game every weekend and hoping you're the one with 52. So it's got to be a good balance. And I like what I'm seeing from a lot of the defensive coaches now, the younger defensive coaches, like Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. He's not necessarily younger, but he's somewhere in the middle of the pack. The Purdue's new coach, you're starting to see some of those defensive coaches bringing in those high-powered offenses because they know what they don't want to defend. But they're not giving away their defensive principles at the same time, where, Purdue's giving up points, but that's just because they have no talent.
Right.
So, but I think that's kind of what I would look for, is that guy that, so he doesn't have to be an offensive coordinator, but he's got to have an offensive coordinator that runs that offense, and you still got to play defense. So I would go something with that model, like same with Elko, Leipold, some other guys. They're not only good on one side of the ball.
Yeah, Corey, that's great analysis right there, giving people what they need to hear and understand and be able to dissect and maybe get some reality to this, because I understand where a lot of this is coming from. And look, I'm an older guy compared to the guys that are playing in that locker room right now, and I get nostalgic too. And I remember Urban Meyer. I remember the guy. I remember Bowling Green Urban Meyer. I remember Utah Urban Meyer had the first pick in the draft. Alex Smith. I remember that. I remember when he went over to Florida and he had that great run with Tim Tebow until Nick Saban came to Alabama and ran him out of the SEC. I remember that. I remember when he went and took the break and went to broadcast television network stuff, and then he went to miraculously he healed from his heart problems in Florida, and he went to Ohio State. Now, look, we all remember that very well. When we ask current players about that Urban Meyer, they don't They don't know that Urban Meyer. They know the Urban Meyer at Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the one that people in the locker room right now understand. And I think we lose sight of that. And I know that there's been a million coaches who have said, I have no interest in that job. And then 2 weeks later, they're in that job, right? So you think when a guy like Urban Meyer says, I have no interest, but when he brought up something very critical in an interview a couple of weeks ago, when he said, I used to have to deal with maybe an agent for a coordinator. And now let's couch this. Urban is older, okay? I'd have to deal with agents for every player. He said that the transfer portal and NIL, these are things that older coaches they struggle with. The great Nick Saban struggling a little bit with it himself. Dabo really struggling with it over at Clemson, okay? That's the same age group that Urban is in. That's his demographic right there. So what you're talking about are guys who have embraced it. They're younger guys, and they're doing it right now without the resources that Michigan State can provide. Is that fair to say that that's why you're targeting those guys? That it's out of the nostalgia and obviously the dollar amount that he would require that everybody just assumes is there for Urban?
Yeah. I think that's the other part of it too, is like, obviously there's some nostalgia. And I do think, he's kind of a winner, so I think he could figure it out to an extent. But he's making, I believe, $7 million, is it, with Fox? And he's home whenever he, so how much do you have to pay you guys to make that worth it to you to have those 80-hour weeks, to go on those road trips, those planes, to be in those living rooms?
You don't want these problems. For that, you making that you making that without less problems. So like clearly, just stay fine,
like,
right?
Yeah, Steve Mariucci's another one. I'm sure he could have got back into it, but after a while, it's like, I mean, I'll give up a couple dollars if I can sleep and I don't get woken up at 3 a.m. because one of my college kids did something the college kid's gonna do, and so it's a lot. It'd take a lot, and then at that point, so what's the number got to be to get him to leave a comfortable $7 million? Like so if you're saying, let's say it's 10-12 million range, like there's only so much money Michigan State has to spend for a head coach, an assistant pool, plus all of the staff, support staff that goes along with it, and NIL. Like there's a budget somewhere. There's not just like infinite money. So what makes more sense to you? It's like you spend $12 million on your coach. That's going to pull from your assistant pool, but he's not going to come here if you don't give him the assistant pool. First of all,
we got billionaires. We got billionaires.
Yeah, I mean, and like to me, you look at the NBA and the NFL. I think we've talked about that a lot. Like once NIL became a thing, that's where college football is heading. Is that landscape? Who's getting paid in those sports for the most part? The coaches or the players? I mean, and it's the players.
Players.
So do you want to tie 12 out of your 20 million that you will make up and say you have for a thing to a head coach, and then another 7 to your assistant pool? Like where's your NIL? Like that's your good recruiter right now is NIL. Honestly, if we're being honest with ourselves, like even if you bring up like Mel from previously, like Mel was a great recruiter with the old style of doing what you had to do, blah, blah, blah. But it changed once he got here because NIL becomes a factor that you can recruit me the hardest and show me the best vision. But this school is offering me $3 million more than you. So, like that's just where it is. So,
are those real numbers, Corey? Because you know better than everyone else. Like, are you hearing those kind of numbers from players around the country?
Not a ton of them, but there's always going to be those guys, like especially the big quarterbacks, stuff like that. But I mean, I think just being around it, I think if you can be in like that $8 to $12 million range a year, which is a lot for NIL. Like if you're in that range, you're in the very upper tier.
You're saying 8 to 12 million in NIL by itself.
Yeah. Where that's where the big dogs are spending, you know. And then
Is that why
I think
keep reading Oregon gets another keeps getting more 5 stars every time I turn around. I mean, what is that? Yeah.
So that's what, for me, it's like you gotta look at the whole budget and say what makes the most sense. Do you find that $5 to $6 million coach with still making sure you got to take care of the assistant pool because you need those guys, and then having a good enough chunk for the NIL, because at the end of the day you got to have that nowadays.
Gotta have
now
it.
this this is a topic that I feel like I'm gonna ask this question more so like scenario, and we can have a conversation about this on another day. But if I am being sought after as a head coach, and we're talking about NIL, keeping it NIL at the forefront of the mind, and you come to me and say, hey, I'm going to pay you $5 million, $5 million, right? And you talk about a lower coach who's having success but not big yet.
Yeah.
And knowing that the coaching success is to be having a great NIL plan, it's like, all right, you're going to pay me $5 million, and can you give me $2 million to work with for NIL? Knowing that the long haul, it's going to be a return of investment when you start getting players in here. What's stopping that scenario happening with coaches being more strategic, knowing that success later down the road is going to be more beneficial if you're able to take care of the current first 3 years of getting people in here and successfully having an NIL program.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's got to be a question for a successful coach. Is like, before he's always asked, what's my assistant pool? And that matters. Now NIL also matters. Like all that stuff. You got the facilities at Michigan State now with all this stuff. So that's good for a while. You always got to keep up with it. But with the Big Ten money, I think they might not want to hear it, but they got plenty of money to take care of their own buildings now and keep them up to date. So yeah, I think if you're a good head coach, you're going to ask about the NIL. Say, hey, maybe Urban makes you get a bigger promise because he's in a good spot, but everyone's going to want to hear that they at least have a functional number to work with.
Yeah, good stuff, Corey. I mean, we can continue to follow this as the coaching search turns at Michigan State and as recruiting also continues, because I think they're going to kind of go hand in hand. It sounds like a lot of wait and see approach. So this coaching search is directly tied to what this early signing period is. What date is it? It's in December?
December.
This year?
Yeah, it's in December. So, and ideally you have this coaching search wrapped up sometime after Thanksgiving to those first week or two of December. So you should get ahead of the signing day. And even that allows like the next coach, assuming he's coaching somewhere, it gives him a chance to get some of his class too here if they're that type of prospect. So
true.
So it makes sense for the coach to get it done too.
Well, man, hey, we're all for it. NIL coaching searches. It's going to be an exciting couple of weeks coming up here for Michigan State athletics all the way around. Football's got games that they got to close out. Obviously, there's a ton of Michigan State athletics that we're going to cover in our next show on Thursday because we got a couple back-to-back Big Ten champions. And we ain't forgot about you, cross country, women's cross country. We got to talk about them in our show on Thursday. Special thanks to you, Corey. As always, great job coming on. Love to have you on and continue to have you back because you bring a wealth of knowledge and helping people understand what's really going on as a real insider from Michigan State, man. We thank you for that.
No problem. Anytime.
For sure, man.
Definitely.
Otis, we got to put a bow on this thing, man. I know we've been on here quite a while. We got a lot of good information today, man. But breaking down that Minnesota game, having Sam on, man, and with his, hey, that's a hooper. You like them hoopers?
Oh yeah, man. Look, hoopers got a mindset, man. Like it's gamer mentality, man. Like you can always get a bucket, right? I think that's element. You can always create positive yards. That's their mentality. So glad we had him on just to give an opportunity for Spartan Nation and our fans and followers to get to know Sam, and also having Corey on to give us a state of the union. Recruiting's not dead. It's never dead. If it is dead, then we will be fully a depleted program. But Coach Barnett is making moves with the hand he's given, right? So, kudos to Coach Barnett, knowing he's trying to rally the troops and get them on the win column, but he's also still making moves and being present in the recruiting trail. So a lot of stuff's going to be updated, but we're looking forward to celebrating other sports as well, as they have continued winning championships, but also competing. So looking forward to our Thursday our Thursday preview before this Cornhuskers come to town.
For the Cornhuskers make it into town. And look, everybody, be out there, be safe as you end your trick-or-treating on this beautiful Halloween evening, wherever you are. Make sure that you don't eat too much candy, because we need you ready and focused on Saturday for cheering against those Cornhuskers. And Otis, for you, Otis Wiley Jehuu Caulcrick, who is not in the basement at Rick's. I'm Jason Strayhorn. This is Sparta MSU. Have a good night. God bless. Go green.
Go wide.
This is Sparta MSU as a combined presentation of Playfly Sports Properties and Michigan State Sports Properties. The show is produced by Tony LaBarbera, Tony Gustella, and Process Driven Consulting. Additional support is provided by Brendan Duravage. On-location technical support provided by Good Fruit Video. Be sure to follow our host Jason Strayhorn, Jehuu Caulcrick, and Otis Wiley on social media. To stay up to date with all the latest This is Sparta news, please like and subscribe by visiting our link tree, and tell a friend to do the same. Thank you for your support, and as always, go green.